Thanks for bearing with. Actually, yeah, these days the camera and video seem to sync up quite well. It's just the microphone that has to be corrected every time. Welcome back. This is stream number 6, I think. Hopefully I've been numbering them correctly. You know, there comes a point where you just start sort of driving through, automating everything, then you're not sure. Camera's about to slip off the stand, just have to check that I'm all good there. Yeah, okay. Yep, looks good. Yeah, sorry for starting this stream so late. Really a struggle with DroidCam, the Android webcam app, which is hella unreliable. Will just break down with an orange screen. This is actually the first time I couldn't fix it without just starting all of the apps in the correct order, hoping that would always work, but no, like sometimes you actually have to reinstall it in order to fix it. So I did that and it works now. Yeah, it's one of those sort of hobbyist apps that, you know, somebody on Reddit will have developed and sold, but without that level of attention to, well, perfectionism about making it reliable. Which is, yeah, I mean, that's how it is. A lot of apps are like that these days. I have this Twitter app here as well, which functions the same way. Like, there's a lot of like really fundamental UI stuff that's wrong with it, but it's the only one that does what I want it to do. So you have to shout them out for that, for actually doing it, even if you sort of wish someone better could have done it. But never mind. I mean, life is about the effort that people put in, not about how good people are. Okay. Yeah. Things are getting a bit hectic in my schedule. I'm really hoping that I can bang out, before I get completely ill, that I can bang out MapReduce, the whole thing by the end of today. And if you remember the story so far, the point that I got to is that I can't test my codes because a mess has been made by MIT. Their initial code doesn't seem to work. So I was supposed to implement the schedule function as part of part 3 in MapReduce being the first of the 4 projects. And the test code fails to enter schedule. So all the stuff that I did, it doesn't even reach that because there's a fundamental bug somewhere. Oh yeah. To initialize, I do this. Actually, last night when I had like a 5-minute think, I thought, oh, maybe the initialization has changed. My throat is fucked, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was like, maybe the initialization has changed. Like, you have to do a different thing in order to get the testing working. But I mean, no, the go path is always the root of the project, and we're still in MapReduce. And you know, I went through the instructions and nothing else has changed, so I should be clear to just It is interesting that when I type clear, it doesn't actually clear the screen on this terminal. It's a bit of a shit terminal. But yeah, if I run this is where we were. This is where we got to, right? It's throwing a really random error that I'm going to have to debug without the experience, without knowing what the error is about. This is the full output. If I can get it all to fit on one page, that's it. And like I said, I proved at the end of yesterday's stream, and streaming is, yep, all good. I proved at the end of yesterday's stream that it is the schedule function that I'm supposed to be implementing is not reached by the test. So the test doesn't even get to it, right? And I did that by at the very top of schedule, I said, "Are we live?" I printed that to the console, and as you can see, it's not getting printed at all. So we're going to be debugging that. I thought to myself, maybe I should debug it off stream, get it working, and then continue. But I decided to challenge myself to debug it on stream. Had a coffee as well, so I'm going to try to just absolutely run through it, pile through the debugging, get it done, and then hopefully test it, and we'll see if the code works. The actual, implementation that I did, which is this, right? From between the two print statements, I made that channel of free workers, idle tasks, done tasks, populated idle tasks initially with all the tasks that had to be done, and then got the worker to pull free workers. I'm just pointing at the screen like a dumbass. I got it to pull free workers off the free worker channel, pull tasks off idle tasks, pass in the correct arguments to the RPC call, which is called by the function do, which is down here, and do just does the call, and then sends either the worker back. If the task succeeds, it sends the worker back and drops the task, else it drops the worker and sends the task back, pretty much. It's pretty elegant system. So I'm hoping it works, but I don't know yet, because I'm going to have to debug this shit. So yeah, I'm hyping myself up to jump in and do that. Like a hype man, I'm just like sitting here chatting breeze about hype, about getting myself pumped to do it, find out what's going on. I have all these temporary files that I'm going to have to take a look at as well, because those are made by the testing procedure, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that's it. That's what's going on today. Like I said, I hope, I set the next stream for 10 PM just to give myself a bit of a break today, because the schedule's getting a bit packed. The other thing I have going on at the moment is I decided to jump on a gig tomorrow at Jazz Refreshed. A gig with music that I'm not very familiar with, so I decided to try to familiarize myself, give myself another challenge, see if I can bang all that stuff out. Sorry, I'm just looking at my chat. No one said anything, but Facebook Messenger has just loaded out of the blue on Dreg's Android. Guys, remember Dreg's Android? Burner phone? Them ones? Yeah, it's highly messed up. I don't know what Facebook Messenger is thinking. This is the light version, the one that's supposed to work on every phone. It's not working on Dreg's Android, because Dreg's Android is the dregs of the earth and the eggs that I eat. So look at that. Ooh. Alright, it seems to be working now. It says it's live, says there are 0 viewers. Cool, I don't want to know that, so it would be nice if it pissed off. If I press, okay, it's gone. It got replaced by a fucking advert. Never mind. Okay, ready to go, guys. Not to sound bitter, series of unfortunate events. And yeah, I'm still struggling to motivate myself to go to bed on time. So I'm aiming for 2 AM so I can start the stream at 12. Ends up being 4 AM. Start the stream at 1. And then yeah, just sorting myself out, getting all the equipment together, and reinstalling the camera app. So far the only time I've had to do that, thank God, or else, but it's a 5-minute delay doing the reinstallation, restart a computer over and over, restart the phone as well, usually, and the phone takes twice as long to restart as the computer, of course, because Android sucks, it really does. It would be nice if there were a better operating system that's customizable like an actual computer. Windows is a good operating system. Linux is a good operating system. Mac, I guess, is probably also a good operating. I don't remember. On desktop things are, locked. It's just on phone you have to choose between having a good operating system and a flexible operating system. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, without any further ado, let's begin. Okay, so let's rifle through. I'll show you guys what debugging is like. Well, debugging something that you have no idea about, at any rate. First of all, let's take a look at the output. This one input parameter needs 3. I mean, that's pretty damning in and of itself. Doesn't, it makes me think it's not actually a Windows error. It's just doesn't work for some reason. Who knows what? I'm pretty sure I did edit some of the code I wasn't supposed to edit, but all I did was implement the suggestions made by Visual Studio Code to like replace plus equals 1 with plus and that kind of stuff. And I checked out the changes, and I'm pretty sure they shouldn't make a difference. I guess it would be wise to switch back to revert to that, but at the same time I don't want to keep dealing with the errors that come up in problems. There is currently one warning, which is from my schedule code. It says that it's unreachable. I'm not sure it is unreachable. We'll find out when we actually get to testing it. But for the time being, I'm ignoring that. It's only a warning, and it's got nothing to do with this, because schedule is never run because the test is broken. So I'm going to try to fix the test. Address incompatible with the requested protocol. Methods are getting, completely the wrong information. Oh, I should say I spent about 10 minutes yesterday trying to get Max and Ben, their distributed systems live stream. Try to use that to debug this, but the point where this happened is the point where they screwed up the stream and managed to stream one of their faces for the entire stream, so I had absolutely no visual cues for what was going on. It's like, it had to be that particular one that got, that covered the bit that I needed help with, but never mind, it's fine. Just life, that's how life goes. Them coincidences. So let's get to work. Like I said, I'm not going to do the reversion of those trivial details. I mean, I would be hella surprised if that changed anything. So instead I'm going to investigate. So let's start. Let's begin with register here. Capsule register. Actually, sorry, I forgot to take a look at the temporary files first. The temporary files do contain stuff, right? This is similar to the test from part 1. It also sort of printed loads of numbers into a few separate files, just as a kind of parallelization test. It didn't do anything serious, or not even parallelization. In part 1 it was sequential, but here I guess it's supposed to be parallelized. If it says test parallel, and I saw in the docs that there are 2 tests that do that. So this is the first one that's failing. Probably the second one will also fail for the same reason. But yeah, I guess it does, the test does, actually I'll demonstrate this for you guys. If I delete all these temporary files, make sure I don't delete common, one of the actual source code files by accident. But these files, input 0.txt through to input 19. I'll delete those files. Those are the temporary files. Everything is going to always be in the recycle bin, which is useful in case I've screwed something up. Right now, if I run the test, whoops, I can Alt-Tab to this, copy it using Control-C, Tab back, and Shift Insert. Fucking. It passed because I didn't name the test correctly, because hash is interpreted as a name, so ignore that message. Okay. Yep, all the files have turned up, so that does happen in the test. It's just that the RPC section messes up. So let's find register. That's our first entry point to see if we can find, because this doesn't have a stack. Well, I guess it's concurrent, so I am gonna, okay, just quickly to make sure something hasn't gone wrong. Since the last time I tested part 1, I am gonna run the sequential test. But the sequential test does not use RPC at all, so it should be completely fine, right? And it still is completely fine. So, okay, that's fine. Let's take a look at register. Should we take a look at, actually, let's take a look at the test code first. So we'll take a look at the actual test. That's highly astute when you're debugging using a testing. Read the test if you didn't write the test yourself. So, yep, we are running tests. It is in test, I'm pretty sure. It's called something like test parallel. Yeah. Test parallel basic, right? That checks out. Let's see if we can find what's going on. So we can put breakpoints in the test. Well, not breakpoints, but because it's not debugging using Visual Studio Code, it's running stuff out of this separate. The console here is actually, it's in Visual Studio Code, the app. For convenience, it's not actually related to it. So if I put breakpoints in here but didn't use debug, use the console, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't respect the breakpoints. Respect the points. Okay, so I have no call stack to look at here, no output at all. So I am going to fmt println the classic debug code. I am going to put print statements in absolutely everywhere, so to find out which of these, god, my eyes, it's that grogginess of getting up, to find out at which stage things first go wrong. So the function gets called, setup is run. I'm pretty sure setup is what doesn't work, so I'm gonna do the test now. I wonder if I can cache commands in this command line so I can just rerun them all the time. Well, this is properly messed up. The test does not seem to at all load. What then does test parallel do? Go test should be running test parallel basic and test parallel check. I still am unfortunately not familiar with how Go's testing works in globally speaking. So let's see if we can solve that, fix that, and find. Oh no, I clicked on shit. This is gonna crash the thing. Okay, thankfully it didn't crash. As in, testing within Visual Studio has led to not crashes, but well, actually once it did lead to a crash, like some sort of memory leak or something. Okay, so let's keep going. Get your angry debug face on. Control Shift F. Let's see if we can find what test parallel is. Well, I mean, we still have a bloody command here. Go test run test parallel for part 3. This tests everything. Okay, it's useful to know we have something that tests everything. That's good. But yeah, go test run test parallel on the MapReduce directory. Okay, let's try running this command out of here. I think it'll do the same thing that happened before. But it's interesting because it doesn't seem. Oh shit! I'm matching full words, am I not? Yeah, that's not good. Sorry. Oh no, I'm not matching full words. So I have no idea about test parallel. I think the thing about what might be going on with test parallel because I can't find explicitly test parallel mentioned anywhere. I think what might be happening is that it does every test that starts with the word test parallel. So if I put test parallel B, it should just run test parallel basic. If my theory is correct, let's find out. Yes, I think it does. That seems to be true. So let's just do some similar tests to that now. Test parallel B. Whoops. How do I copy? How do I copy from this command line? If I press Control Insert, that should do it, I think. So let me try test parallel V, which does not exist. It's going to say something like no tests found. If I do test parallel C, it will find the check test, and it fails for the same reason. So that's okay. That's why it says test parallel. What this does is it runs every test that starts with the word test parallel. Okay, so yeah, our entry point. To be completely certain that we are running the correct test, I'm going to start running the basic test instead of test parallel. So I'm only looking at test parallel basic. So I'm going to very much, copy this command, Control Insert, and I'm going to save it in a notepad document just so I have it there somewhere, useful. This is the test command that we're going to be running. No need to save the doc. Yep. So check it out. This is, well, I'm pretty sure my test. Oh shit! Wait. Test parallel B is printing 1. Look at that. It is printing 1. Test parallel on MapReduce is also printing 1. But when I ran test parallel by itself, it did not print 1. I do not know why. Does not matter. Let's ignore that. The point is, when I run test parallel basic, as you can see, it is managing to print 1. Okay, so let's go back to debugging it. Test parallel basic, here we are. Guys, here we are. This is test parallel basic. I can get rid of this search thing. Don't need that anymore. So it is successfully entering setup. It is not exiting setup, as you can see. So the bug is in this section of the code. It's in mr equals setup. Mr, I believe, is MapReduce, the library. Not 100% sure that is true. Let us put in a debug statement that says something like setup complete, and that will be run once we get this working. So let's find out what setup is. I will have to save stuff to test, unfortunately. I didn't really want to edit it, but okay, setup. We are matching case, yes. Setup is a function that is run in a few different tests. So which of these is the bit where it breaks? This is all synchronous code, I'm pretty sure. Files make inputs. Master, port master, mr distributed. Let's have it. Wait, they have comments that seem to come up as well. What does make inputs do? Let's have a quick look. Makes input file. Are these the input files? Yes, they are. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. So these files are purely input files for the test, and those are successfully created, as you can see. And the code here, make inputs, is fairly transparent. It literally just writes to the console and seems to be fairly synchronous as well. So I don't think this is where the error is. I'm not, certain. I'm not going to be completely certain, but it seems unlikely that this is what's causing the problem. Because it just makes the files, and the files have been made, so that's fine. Where is setup again? Just to check. Map func. Oh dear. Setup. I lost it. Down here. Master. Okay, this could be where it's going wrong. Master is port master. So what's going on with port? Where is port defined? Cook up a unique-ish Unix domain socket name. in var.temp. Can't use current directory since AEFS doesn't support Unix domain sockets. It could, it could just be a Windows thing. Like, imagine if the solution to debugging this is install Linux. That would drive me mental. It would be sad if I had to do that. But then again, not really, because I think everyone eventually installs Linux when they're doing dev work. I guess it just becomes necessary because no one can get code to be truly cross-platform. It's just, I don't know, it's just life. Life is for those the definition of what life is. This is what port does. This is a string. Yeah, it's converted into what the hell. Oh no, iter formats as integer. Oh, I see. OS get UID, OS get, you think I know what all this shit is. OS make directory. Where is it making this directory? Directory S. Is that in like one of the working directories, or I don't know. Okay, the point is this is also fully synchronous code. So I believe that also works. And that is the port function, which is going into here. Just a sec. Sorry, I had to just quickly disappear there because my mum needed a clock. Interesting, needing a clock. But I guess if you're lazy, you'll never buy one. Okay. Yep. It creates once. Yeah, just wanted to check that that particularly the microphone level. But this also seems to be working fine, so all good. I'll just mention quickly that to prevent the Ethernet cable from jumping out again, after what happened last time, I did this. Let me see if I can make that visible on the camera. Right, I did this. So I rubber banded it on both sides to try to not distort the socket here, and so this is just like it requires quite a few newtons of force to split that up now. So I mean I can just leave that and not worry about it. But yeah, the Ethernet cable, the clips have just been falling off. Like this is the side that actually had clips. The other side never has clips. Never had clips even in the first place. So I had to make sure I had it plugged in. Before each stream, I have to make sure it's stable because if there's any tension, it will come out. But it's in a different room, so it's not that risky. So yeah, this is what happens if you get your 20-meter long Ethernet cable from um, from a trunk room clear out at college. Yep, trunk room, free Ethernet cables for all shit ones. Well, it works. It's just the clips have fallen off. I slightly need a piss, but I'm just going to use that to motivate myself to drive through the debugging. Let's try it. Run worker. God, this does a lot of stuff. What am I looking at? I'm looking at a sorry, the wrong thing. I should be looking at setup because that's the bit that's broken. Ports. We said that port was fully synchronous code, right? That's what I just said. It makes a port. It makes a. This could still be wrong, even though it doesn't leave the function. But it doesn't. That doesn't seem to correspond to the error that I'm getting here. So, for the time being, I'll assume it's okay. But like I said, it could be wrong if it's like spitting out a string in the wrong format or something. That could be causing the problem. That's fine. That's fine. Let's keep going. So in the setup code, which is the code that, don't forget, does not work. I am saying it's probably the case that here is okay, right? So let's find out if that is actually true. The lag on Visual Studio Code is again causing problems. Right, it is exiting, so it is entering into okay, no problem. Is it getting through to to here? What is this? Oh, fucking droid cam keeps coming up. What is the quickest way to? Yeah, if I just alt tab into Notepad and tab back into the console, then I can easily copy the test command. That is like a like an alternative clipboard in Notepad form. All right, check this. I have the println statement in the correct place, but as you can see, it's not executing it, so it's failing to get to there. It's this distributed line of code that is jumping to the failure. So let's have a look at distributed. This would also explain why, the sequential code was okay. It doesn't have the word distributed in it. This is the only place where this comes up, which is odd. Because then where is this function coming from? Did I spell no, I didn't spell distributed wrong. Where is this function coming from? Oh, I guess in Visual Studio Code I can go to definition to find it. It's in master.go. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does, because this is supposed to return a master. Does it just? It must import. I wonder why that doesn't throw a syntax error. Somehow distributed is being run from a different file without any problems. But nonetheless, okay, without caring about that, Visual Studio Code is telling me that's this function. So, somewhere in here, we have some, this is where the RPC server is starting and probably failing. Let's do some print statements again. Whoops. Master is probably fine because there would have been a master in the previous test. I don't know. Possibly a master in the previous test. Nonetheless, distributed. RPC.register seems to be what's failing. Okay, FMTs. Probably have to, just in case I left one in by accident at the end, I'm probably going to have to roll through and like globally search for printlns and delete them all. distributed entry. Well, it's not quite entry point, that would have been the line above, but you take the points, copy, go. Yep, it's running this. I think the master's fine. fmt.println RPC question mark. Alright, at this stage it's failing again, so we know that the RPC server command is where the code is breaking. Let's jump to that. Ooh, okay. Start RPC server, which is something that is attached to a master object, namely MR. So, it's kind of like saying it takes the master as an argument, but it doesn't. It's more a method for the master. Conceptually, different things, but in practice, kind of. Well, I say in practice, but what do I mean? From the perspective of the program itself, it's the same thing, but conceptually, for the human, it's different. As in, having it as a method of an object, vs, passing it into the function. Whatever. Oh, go. Oh, go. Yeah. That's an interesting pun on no, I guess. Which is the debug. The debug is real. Alright, yeah, check it. Like, if I don't manage to, within an hour or two, get to the bottom of what's going wrong here, I will take time off and figure it out myself off the stream. Yeah, if anyone knows Go and has any idea what this could be referring to, this error that I'm trying to fix, welcome to send things into the comments, into the chats, and I have it working, which is good. So I'll hopefully pick up on that, and I can try to give it a shot if you have a suggestion as a lead on what could be going wrong. For the time being, I'm still tracing the function back, trying to find out, stepping through the code by myself, trying to find out where it goes wrong. So start RPC server is, this is again not, this is still not where the problem is. It has some registration server type things. Is debug on? I should check that. No, I don't know what that is. Common has a debug switch, which should really be true. Even though, yeah, if I recall correctly, with this set to true, it still doesn't make a difference to the output I'm getting out. Even if I put the verbose flag that they told me to put in, it doesn't make a difference. So this is all the evidence I have to go on. I'm pretty sure I did not edit master. Oh, I did. Yeah, I edited master, but then I unedited it, so I'm just gonna Control Z out of the edit. And when I save that, it should give me a not modified. So, yep. Git knows it's not been modified. Okay, MR distributed. Where did we say this was? Go to definition. It's in master. Start RPC server is where the problem is. What is this? Only needed for Unix. Okay, let's take a completely speculative attempt where we comment this code out and then run the test. That definitely does not change anything. Manifestly does not change anything, but okay. It's worth a shot. It only took about 5-10 seconds to give it a shot. Well, I guess, okay, check this out. RPCS is an RPC server, okay? That's instantiated here. RPCS.register is the command that's messing up. Let's have a look. well, actually, let's first confirm again that this is where things are going wrong. Before register and after registering, right? So I've just saved those things in. This is master RPC is the file we're currently in. Apparently, it's that complex source code. Before reg runs, after reg does as well. So this may or may not be an asynchronous call. It's not running in a Go routine, so it should be synchronous. But as you can see, like, it's throwing lots of problems, but I think the actual error that causes it to crash is this, something that follows after reg. So let's see if we can find a line where it crashes. An address incompatible with the protocol was used. That's also not happening here. So again, I'm just gonna use the whole 1, 2, 3 notation. Do #1 to just make it a bit clearer. Okay, let's see if that's where the problem is. Whoa, careful. Yep, #1 is still running correctly. Is it .listen here? Net.listen, that's some sort of an internet protocol type thingy, I don't know. Okay, let's find out if that's where it's crashing. The manual debugging. Well, that's not where it's crashing, or else it would be printing registration server error. Okay, here we go. We're running an asynchronous routine here. Oh boy, this code is this is where it starts getting messy. So again, this seems to be fine up to here. Let's keep going. Let's see if we can find exactly where the problem is. This is some fuck knows what this is. Master.l. That probably doesn't come with a comment. It's just a listener. RPC.register. Yeah, RPC.register is spitting out a bunch of problems. But then there is an error being thrown later on after registration is done. I commented out the one thing, the #1 thing that I'm going to use to find out where things are going wrong. Let's see if it enters the for loop. This for loop could end up printing a lot of shit if it runs for a bunch before crashing. It does not enter the for loop. Check it out. #1 is not printed. Okay, interesting. So then where does it crash? Here? No. #1, not happening. Even here, it's failing. We said, didn't we, print if we run it here, it works. Yes, it does. Oh, so error's not nil. Okay, let's print the error. Let's go #, E. That's the error. This is some fairly intensive debugging, but I didn't realize the actual code was so complicated. This is it. This is the error. See, it's come up again. Listen, Unix var whatever. An address incompatible with the requested protocol was used. Listen. Oh, so MR address is what is incompatible. So this is saying, oh, sorry, I just want to check the laptop. The laptop is running toastily for whatever reason. Let me just check that Windows Update didn't start or anything like that. It's often what happens. You know, when I scroll to the bottom here and I just find Windows Update running at full pelt, no, it's okay. Visual Studio Code is running something. Oh, it stopped. Okay, good. It shouldn't be running anything. The rest of it is fine. Okay, cool. Yep, this is where the error is being thrown. The error is literally coming out of... Oh, right. Yeah, this is where it crashes. If error is not nil, it logs registration server / the address. And then it says the address is incompatible. So this address is not legit. This is the address. Okay, let's copy the address to somewhere useful. Not this notepad document, because I'm Control-Aing it in order to copy the test. So I'm going like this, Control-A copy to whenever I need the test command. Instead, a different notepad document. This address is not legit. Who knows why? Let's see if it changes if I comment this line out. Like I said, this line only needed for Unix. We're not running on Unix, so who knows what happens. Let's see if it changes anything. That's what I care about. Yeah. Whenever I paste, it goes into the editor instead of the command line. Well, I'm still getting the same error. Right, this is the error, the thing printed after hash. The address, which is /var temp, is now changed to this, which I'm pretty sure is different to what it used to be. If you're asking me what the difference is between these two, I could not possibly tell you. .NET, so okay, net.listen, Unix. This is a announces on the local network address. Oof, I am not, I do not know shit about web ports and all this stuff. I guess this is the day I learn some of that shit. So I'm going to... Yeah, we know what MR address is. It's these, depending on whether the switch for Unix is used or not. Does it always give the same address? That's another thing that's worth checking. I think it does. It seems to not. Oh, it gives different addresses. So this one is 10932. This one's 12224. But there doesn't seem to be a difference in the format of the address. Oh, this doesn't change the address. Okay, no, it doesn't change the address. It just removes the named file or directory. If there is an error, it will be of type path error. Okay, OS, it deletes a folder. But from where does it delete that folder? I don't know where the actual editing is going on. Probably in like GoPath or something. Somewhere. Well, it deletes everything, so it shouldn't be leaving anything behind other than these input files. But the input files are not a problem at all. Okay, never mind that. So let's get the documentation out for net.listen and see if we can find out what it's supposed to do, how it works. Golang net.listen. Of course, another thing that we could do, another lead that we have is, of course, the multiple warnings that are being thrown before this happens. All these methods are being run on register that need 3 parameters but are only receiving 1. That's highly booky, highly dodgy. That's like not symptomatic of it being a Windows error, which I keep trying to justify, like I'm wondering seriously what MIT has done here. Okay, this is our net package. Let's look up listen. Which listen do we want? We want the default listen. Dear Lord, there's a lot of listens. Type listener. Oh, is it listeners that have listen? Well, it says net.listen, and it returns a listener. So I need listen, not listener. And I don't mean listener.listen. I mean listen as a raw command. Fucking look at all this. Well, it seems to be subsumed under types. Everything seems to be subsumed under types. But there should be a like a global listen function. There seems to not be one. Okay, confused. I have to say net.listen. Let me see if this what this does. If I can find a little bit more information. Or like a worked example from a different file, net.listen. What is it listening for, by the way, just quickly? It's listening for network and address string. Yep. And the listen protocol apparently does not take those addresses. Alright guys, I'm going to have to take a break. As much as I was getting hyped by my need to go to take a piss, I am unfortunately not so hyped anymore now. I just really need a piss, so I'll very quickly go for a slash. Not a celebratory one at all. I'm still in the middle of all this shit. So I'm just gonna leave up a note for you guys that I'm gonna be slash back in like 5 mins. I have lost viewers by disappearing for 5 minutes, but I'm not bothered. Gone for a slash back in 5. Cool. nudged the mic, sorry. Whoa. Nudged it again, fuck's sake. I should budge up slightly. Took my hat off, just put the hat on every now and again to straighten my hair out a little bit, so particularly in humid weather, so it doesn't just go all poofy. And that. Okay. This is just mood right now, total mood. But we are pushing ahead. I think I should at least be able to figure out what is causing the problem. Yeah, net.listen. I'm pissed now. It does. Why is net is not an object. Net is a package. I'm pretty certain of that. If I look through Go here and Go, and it's rather non-transparent syntax. Net should be a package, and so it should just have a listen thing, unless listen is just a method that is getting assigned to loads of stuff. I mean, but it's being run off net, which is again the package. So where is it finding this? There's no show documentation command. But like, I guess I can go to definition. Dial.go. This is a standard Go. What's the word? The standard Go package. Let me see if there's any useful information here. Listen announces on the local network address it's going to be one of these protocols, Unix. For TCP networks, it says an address incompatible with the requested protocol. Do we know which protocol we're using? That should be independent of the language. Well, I guess we're using Unix. Sort of. There should be a switch case for like different things passed into, what's the word? Network. Is there a switch network anywhere? Or does it run some other fucking piece of code? Yeah, it runs whatever this is. Resolve adder list. I'm not going to go any deeper into that. I don't think that would be productive. Let's just see if we can find documentation. So again, listen. Right, that's what I want. There are only two matches for the listen function. I guess this is probably the one I want, even though it's subsumed under type listener for whatever reason. Yeah, this is the one. It just says address string and then throws this address incompatible error. The address can use a host name, but that is not recommended because it will create a listener that's for at most one of the host IP's addresses. No, that gives no information. Network and address parameters dial. See func dial. Func dial. Dear lord, that comes up a lot as well, doesn't it? It says see func dial all the time, but doesn't really point to what func dial is, so I'm having to control F through it. This, guys, is how you write bad documentation. This is it, I think. That's func dial. I'm just going through it anyway to make sure this is the only instance of func dial. No networks. Yep, we have all the no networks. Unix is the one that we're using. TCP and UDP. There's some information on the format. IP. For Unix networks, the address must be a file system path. These are the addresses, by the way. Let's see if we can find these files. Maybe they just are not actually getting created successfully. Maybe that's because of these warnings that are happening here. var temp. Where is var? Where is temp? The temporary folder. Who could say, honestly, where this stuff is? It says registration server as a root, but I don't know where that is either. Var. There isn't any additional code here, I don't think, in the actual project. If we look at source code, is there a var folder in source code? Probably not. It's probably somewhere else. Let's have a look at my documents. Sorry, as in I don't know what that is. Whoops. As in, I want to look into the Go path to see if this has a var folder. I don't think it does. Yeah, that folder could literally be anywhere though. That's ridiculous. Why is it saying an address incompatible with the requested protocol? Listen, Unix, and this is our Unix address. Well, I mean, perhaps the problem is that this is a Unix only address. Does Unix have, for example, I don't know much about Unix, but maybe Unix has a var directory. That's important or something. Yeah, check this out. It's a standard subdirectory of the root directory in Linux. So it's using, I think the problem is that it's pulling from an address that does not exist. So it's gonna, this OS remove stuff is just gonna say something like, oh, it doesn't actually exist. Throw that particular error. But how? Somewhere it must be creating the file. And all these files. Let's see if we can do a global file system search to find these files. Presumably they're not getting deleted if this program doesn't know where they are. So let's search for this, 824-1, right? 824-1, where could that be getting created? Where could it be getting created? App data? Who knows? Mate, this may or may not give us some useful information. Tracking down where this folder is. Okay, I am now pretty convinced that this is in fact, yes, because it is this should be working on Linux and I am on Windows. I can't do this because I don't know, because the directory structures don't align, and it's trying to save files to folders that, oh shit, I exited out of the search. So there's a basically file system mismatch with the addresses. It's not saving into the correct place or whatever. Who knows where it's supposed to be saving? Where is mr.address? How is that getting constructed? Let's find out. So mr is the master that gets passed into this. So let's backtrack slightly to find out which part of the master code we're in. It says here mr is new master, and then it runs start RPC server. So at some point master's address is getting defined. So new master is what returns a master. Let's have a look at what new master looks like. Its address is master, the string that's passed into new master. Good to know. So what is passed into new master? the word master. Oh, as in, yeah, new master receives a master. So at this point where we are, sorry, I got slightly lost. New master, master distributed it is an argument that's passed into distributed. It is an argument that comes from here, and it's constructed by the word port. Sorry, by the function port. So what does port master do? It takes a string, namely a suffix master, and it does this shit to it. Okay. Cool. We're getting somewhere with figuring out how this address is getting created. I'm slightly concerned that I'm storing too much information in my memory at the moment, that I won't be able to figure out what's what. Let me just check that. Yeah, something's happening here again. Is it Windows Update? No. Just trying to find out what's using up CPU. Well, again, it's saying system idle process. This is implying CPU usage of 20%, but then this is implying it's somewhat higher. Never mind. This function, right, is constructing our directory. Look at this. It makes the folder var temp os.mkdir. What does that do on Windows? This is what we have to find out. It's not throwing an error as far as I can tell. You know, this returns error. So maybe it's completely failing to make the folder. Port. Let me not get too confused here. You know, this is before reg and after reg, and I have those debug pieces of code here. But of course, that starts RPC server, so the port is created before then. Here we go. It's making an error when it says make directory var temp whatever. The system cannot find the path specified. Maybe this is what will fix it. Possibly. Hang on. So again, I want to take a look at mkdir. In Unix, I think it is permissible to start file addresses like this. You know, Unix has a root directory, Windows doesn't really. I guess the root directory is something like the C drive. I'm not sure if the permissions exist to do that, but okay. My first real attempt at fixing this is going to be to put the C drive in here. Okay. Let's see if that works or if it breaks it. Yep. No. The actual resolution is, there's a good chance it is going to be to install Linux. I'm running saying make directory, and it's saying the system cannot find the path specified. But the directory that's getting made is pretty much this. Yeah, so I'm slightly worried about this laptop. The thermals seem worse than they were when I started the project. Look at this. So C var temp is trying to make a directory, but I guess that folder structure needs to already be there. So I'm just gonna, yes, it's not making the folder at all. Whoops, sorry, I want to exit search, just hit the C drive, piss off, C drive. Let's make the folders. So I'm simulating Unix by making a var folder followed by a temp folder. Let's delete this in the hope that the root directory is correct. I don't think that's going to work, but I deleted that just because I want to make as few changes as possible. Again, the problem is nil, no error. Oh, did it work? Yes, it did. Oh. Okay. Okay, we're getting somewhere. The creation of the folder is no longer throwing an error. But we are still using Unix listen protocol. Maybe I'm not allowed to use Unix on Windows at all as a protocol. On the other hand, it is now correctly assigning it is, now that I've made, so I've not even edited the code, I've just made this folder structure, and it seems to have enough permissions and everything is fine in terms of the file system. That's good. On the other hand, right, so again, nil error is coming out of this. So I'm just going to write like debug, but to make it my personal debugging, I'm going to use hashes so that I can identify my own debug statements. And what statement this is MK port MK dir. I'm going to just label it that way so that I know that it's working still, that nothing breaks later on. I will clear, I think once I've fixed it, I will clear all of these debug statements, particularly, you know, things that I'm editing, files that I'm not supposed to be editing, so it's important to be careful. Cannot create a file when that file already exists. That's absolutely fine. That error gets dropped, but if the folder already exists, then the existence of the error is actually not important. Okay, let's push on. So again, it's not giving a valid address. Let's jump back into master RPC, the point where os.remove master address. Shall I just change master address? Well, master address would be changed if I edited it in test. If I explicitly put, yeah, that. Don't forget, this gets passed all the way down into the place where the function breaks. So it's important, you know, the directory is always there. So sorry for my speaking is getting increasingly split up. I'm sorry about that, but yeah, I don't know how to improve that when it comes to this debugging stuff. So you can see now that I've put C explicitly in there, the correct full address is coming up. The master is getting removed. If I comment out this then when I run this, the master thing is not going to get removed. Or is it? Oh, it is. It was removed. Maybe the problem is that it's failing to create the address in the correct place, but surely it shouldn't be. Okay. Let's backtrack slightly. So it is creating the folder correctly, this folder, right? And it has a write access to create all those folders when it needs them. So port is run by within test within setup, right? Port is run, it makes the folder with the word master in the correct place. You know, it made this folder, so it should be able to make folders. I'm not going to edit the permissions. Then, yep, then it goes into distributed. Let me just put hashes in so I can identify my own statements. Distributed, which creates a master on that folder, start RPC server. RPC new server. It probably makes another folder somewhere. Let me think. What's the best way of dealing with this now? How to move on with the debugging? The error is again coming out here. Sorry, I just want to quickly check. It's still at 90 degrees, not throttling, but why this computer should be running at 90 degrees I do not know. I guess it might be the lack of wind outside. You know, it has a fairly heavy workload, but it seems to be failing to cool down, unfortunately. Well, I guess that is what the fan is for. Okay. Onwards, guys, onwards. This is the net.listen error that I was saying. You know, Unix net.listen. Maybe I'm not allowed to use Unix as a protocol here. Where was my information on net.listen? I might just switch to TCP and see if it works. This is highly experimental. No, you know, you have some errors like along the lines of the specified class was not found, so it needs to be Unix. I think we are, if it turns out that a Unix, we have to use the Unix protocol, and that's only possible to use on a Unix system, then we are absolutely fucked. Like, I don't think that's reconcilable. An address incompatible with the requested protocol was used. This is an error coming out of net.listen. So again, let's just have a look at this. You know, listen is returning, like we're running resolve adder list, all this stuff. listen Unix, that folder, sockets, an address incompatible was used. I'm pretty sure this is where the exact error is getting thrown. What do? Well, error is getting returned by this. If error is not nil, so it could be past network that's doing the error, mismatched address. Case Unix. Past network, it could be that's throwing the error. Let's see. I'm literally browsing through a default package now, just in the hope that I can find case Unix, nothing. Let's see if we can Google the error. That's another way of getting information out. This is UDP, this example. Okay, this person seems to be using Unix on Windows as well, so maybe, as in the Unix protocol on the Windows system. Yeah, I think this is what I feared. Install Docker to get it working. It's a bit of a hack and it's just used to talk to a real Docker in a virtual machine. Dear Lord. So, yeah, that seems to be it. Unfortunately, when it comes to the error that I'm having, it just has to be that the networking apparatus within Windows, without knowing much about the details, it's just not compatible with Unix, using Unix addresses. And we could look at the error that was duplicated here. I used the Windows 10 built-in bash. Windows 10 has built-in bash. I thought it came with Git. Yeah, and this is all about Docker, and I do not believe that that is fixable. Unfortunately, it seems I have to use Unix, so I will have to install a Linux partition in order to get it to work. That seems clear. So I managed to get through without the networking, simulated networking, even RPC and all that. I managed to get through most things. Well, the stuff before it became actually distributed without that. But yeah, I guess once I install Unix, there will no longer be a problem. So I am just going to do that. I do not see any other solution to this. I haven't edited anything, thankfully, other than just adding in print statements, which I'm going to delete. There's nothing, there's nothing you can do here. So this was a Unix address the whole time. I made the folder to try to get it to work, but yeah, address is incompatible because Windows is incompatible. And as you can see, we know Reg is throwing a few errors. These kinds of, or maybe these are warnings. When you see a hobo outside wheeling like a massive trolley thing. Yep, these are, what was I saying? These are, yeah, these warnings are coming out of one of the other routines. I now remember which routine they're coming from. So if they come up again, might need to be debugged, but it's just a warning, so maybe not. But the actual error that's coming out, cannot use the socket, it just does not work. Not that I know what a socket is exactly, but it's about listening to network traffic. RIP. Okay. Sad to learn that after an hour. How long have I spent doing this? How much time have I wasted? It's been about an hour and 20 minutes. Okay. Not a massive deal, a bit of a non-starter. Actually, I might even just... Well, I'll probably leave this up just for posterity, but I'll make it, it was a complete dead end, so I will just make it not part of the stream. Because I think, yeah, I may as well stop streaming now, cut it off, come back next session. Next session, Linux will be installed. This will have been, tested to get to the point where schedule is loading. I'll clean up all of the print statements that I chucked in. We will be working in an actual Linux environment. Linux will be installed on this computer. That's really it. That's all I have to say. Once Linux is installed, of course, there will be no problems with using sockets or whatever in future tests. So, if I am going to be serious about doing this project, continuing the project onto Raft, onto the key values, sharding stuff, all of that stuff, if I'm going to do that, then I have to make sure, without a doubt, that I am on Linux, so that this kind of stuff doesn't come back to haunt me over and over. You can imagine the amount of time that would be wasted debugging it. But I got familiar with the source of the net package a little slightly and dug up the exact error, did a bit of debugging and figured out that what this means is that the actual implementation of the networking protocols that this relies on is not compatible with Windows, and switching the implementation is just obviously going to be completely beyond I'll be completely out of my depth doing that, and editing the code that I'm not supposed to be editing as part of the exercise. So I'm absolutely okay to leave it there. Sorry about the non-starter, guys. I guess it's just how it is sometimes in life. Thankfully didn't waste that much time, just an hour and a bit. Not a problem. Definitely back. At the time I said I would be back 10, and the hope is, honestly, that I can just push through and fully do the stream to the end of MapReduce. Well, I haven't tested my answer to part 3 at all yet, but I'm hopeful that I can finish MapReduce today, despite this setback. Solution: install Linux. Okay, so that's it. At 10, I'm back, and Linux will be installed, and I'm coming back with running the tests and all of that, so I'll pick it up where I left off. And I'm not going to do any testing, really. I'm just going to get it working, get the background library working to the point where I can test stuff, and then I'll be back. So sick. All good. That's all for today. What a way to end today's stream. But you know, setbacks happen. Peace, guys. Peace out.